Hey everybody, it's your Vegas Nation podcast host here, Heidi Fang, and I'm joined with our Raiders beat writer, Vinny Bonsignore. We're at the Raiders headquarters where we witnessed one of the first practices leading up to the Panthers game happening in Carolina this Sunday. Vinny, what have you seen so far from this team and through practice and the reps? Even though we haven't got to see that much, how much do you think that they are getting prepared for this game and the mindset is there?
Yeah, and it's one thing that I do miss is going into the locker room week one because you just feel a different energy. Guys are bouncing around; it's a game week, and we just don't have that access right now due to COVID-19, which is unfortunate. But when you talk about the Raiders and this opponent, it's always a bit of an unknown when you're going into a new season because teams continually change and evolve. But this year in particular, when you talk about the Carolina Panthers, Matt Rule was coaching at Baylor last year. Teddy Bridgewater was the backup quarterback in New Orleans last year. The defensive coordinator was with Matt Rule at Baylor. The offensive coordinator was at LSU. So what do you really know about what the Panthers are going to do offensively and defensively? And as Derek Carr said, it's kind of like in high school where you don't even know who the quarterback is or who's on the team necessarily. There's no film. You just got to go out there and kind of wing it a little bit early on and just do what you do best. And then as the game goes on, make the adjustments to what the defense is doing.
Yeah, Joe Brady, I like that you mentioned him. I mean, he did produce a national championship team with that offense, so it's going to be one curious thing to see how that actually translates in this NFL game. But somebody who's not such a question mark, Christian McCaffrey. How is this Raiders defense prepared to handle him?
Well, and I advise Raider fans to just get used to this. He's going to get his yards. That's the bottom line. Last year I was covering the Rams. The Rams won the game against the Carolina Panthers season opener. Carr was a big part of that. The Raiders' new linebacker, had 14 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble, and was a key part of trying to stop Christian McCaffrey, which they kind of did. But at the end of the day, Christian McCaffrey had over 125 yards rushing and almost close to 90 yards receiving. So they didn't really stop him. They just didn't let him go off on them. And that's what you got to try to avoid with Christian McCaffrey. You don't want him going for one of those 198 yards rushing, 150 yards in receiving. That's where he kills you. If you can kind of keep it reasonable, you've actually done a pretty good job. As crazy as it is, the Rams gladly walked off the field going, yeah, we did a pretty decent job, even though he went for almost 200 yards altogether. Crazy, right?
Yeah. On the flip side, Josh Jacobs might have a nice workload this week, and then the Panthers' run defense last year, even though they've overhauled a little bit, last year they gave up about 5.2 yards a carry, a total of 31 touchdowns on the season. So how advantageous do you think this is for a guy like Josh Jacobs?
It's big, and with that big, strong offensive line that the Raiders have, which looks like they're going to be healthy going into this game, and all the weapons that Derek Carr has, his command of the offense, Josh Jacobs, to me, is aligned to have a pretty big game. Unfortunately for the Panthers, this is a rebuild job going on right now. Heidi mentioned it, the fact that they weren't good against the run last year, and it's, they should be a little bit better, but they're relying on a whole bunch of young players. I think there's 4 rookie defensive starters, which, great for the future. Right now, it might be a little bit of a struggle, especially against an experienced offense like the Raiders. There's no excuse for the Raiders not to go into Charlotte and just impose their will offensively against this young defense. Now they just have to go do it.
All right, so last thing I want to touch on, the injury report came out here while we're sitting here in the Raiders practice area, and Trent Brown's on there. I think Malik Collins was on there. Are there any injuries right now that are very significant that we should monitor as the week progresses?
Not necessarily. Trent was a calf injury, so they've really been, keeping him in the bubble wrap, so to speak. So I expect that he's going to be okay. A couple of guys got some veteran days off. You're going to see that a lot this year, especially with that Richie Incognito, those guys, the older guys on the offensive line. Jason Witten didn't practice today. But, again, those are just sort of maintenance, what they're trying to do. So nothing too alarming on the injury report. And for the Raiders, hopefully that stays the case the rest of this week.
All right, somebody we did not get an update on was Marcus Mariota. So let's hear from head coach John Gruden right now about his status.
We knew he had some injuries, and this injury is not related to the injuries that he had. We felt that he would be ready to go with a good, solid training camp. He was off to a good start. This is a setback. This is a setback for him and for us. But we're excited when we get him back. He still can play.
So I'm sure the Raiders will be looking forward to getting Marcus Mariota back. Right now, practice squad still includes Deshaun Kaiser, who was here last year, but that'll do it for us right now at the Raiders headquarters. So everybody make sure to download the Vegas Nation app, as well as checking out vegasnation.com and following Vegas Nation on all your favorite social media platforms. So for Vinny Bonsignore, I'm Heidi Fang. Thank you for watching.